So hi everyone, in the ADF part 2 we will see one real problem that you might face into your project. So first of all we will discuss that problem and then we will directly jump into the ADF thing. So consider you have the dynamic CRM account, okay. In that dynamic when you create the dynamic CRM organization, automatically it will create database in the backend. We don't need to worry about the database. So in the CRM you have account table, okay. We already have this account, right? This is dynamic CRM, and in this dynamic CRM we already have this account table, and in the account we already have some record. So we have dynamic CRM as a one system, and now we consider external system is also there, some kind of website or some kind of another system like Salesforce or anything. In that database is there, in that the same entity account table is there, okay, account is there. Now what we have to do here is, whenever whatever the data present inside the CRM, particularly in account entity, that we have to move into the external system. Now suppose today we imported that records into the external system, but tomorrow someone create or update the existing account in the CRM, then that data should also get integrated with the external system. So for that, so we will see this kind of problem in project actually, and we will solve this problem today with the help of Azure Data Factory. So before starting that, we already have dynamic CRM, okay. So for external system we should have external database, and in that database we should have this account table. So we in the previous video we already created the SQL server and connected to this SSMS and also, okay. So what you can do is you can create this account table, okay, with the help of this query. Try to create this account table. I will add this query in my blog as well. From that, if you want, you can get this query as well. Create the table. So in my database, the table is already there. No, there is no data present inside the table. Now we will directly start with the Azure Data Factory. So go to the Azure portal, and Azure portal, select all services. In this you have to search Azure Data Factory. Oh no, you don't, you will not, sometimes you won't be able to find directly here. So what you have to do is, in all services, go to the analytics section, and in analytics find data factories. Then you have to create it. Select the subscription, resource group, select these details. We have already created this resource group in previous video. So resource group, what it actually does is it holds the related resources. So related resources Azure Data Factory. So we are linking this Azure Data Factory with this resource group. Then you can give the name, region, version. Okay. And then go to the Git configuration. Disable this, because we are not going to configure the GitHub or Azure DevOps. So disable this. Networking, keep it as it is. Rest of the thing keep it as it is. Tags, if you want to give tags, then you can mention. Then review plus create. It will validate your data factory before creating. If validation is successful, then create. Okay. Once you hit the create, it will deploy and create the data factory. I have already created one. Okay, after creating, go to the data factory, and that you will find this name. Open this and click on this open this menu, and then click on this open Azure Data Factory. It will take some time to load sometimes. So I have already opened this. When you click, then this page will you will be able to see this page. You won't be able to see any pipeline dataset. I have already created some sample dataset and pipeline, but we will solve this problem from the scratch. Okay. So now we have to move the data from CRM to the external system, which is nothing but SQL database. So for that we have to first create the pipeline. So hit on this pipeline. Pipeline will hold pipeline is basically, you can whatever you have written inside the pipeline, that you can trigger and you can run that thing. So in that pipeline, select this copy data, minimize this so that you can see this screen easily. Copy data, give the name. What we are doing is import account to SQL from CRM. Give the description if you want. Timeout is basically, if you hover on this icon, it is a self-explanatory, so you will be able to understand everything if you hover on these things. But again, I will give you a brief overview of all these things. Timeout is basically what will happen if you have a large amount of data inside the CRM. It is telling that this copy activity will run maximum till 7 days. Here they have configured, by default it is a 7 days. Okay. Then retry is basically, suppose copy data activity is failed, then do you want to retrieve the same activity automatically again? If you want to retry the same activity again, then you can mention the count here. Again, retrieve interval, after how many after failing, when your copy data activity gets failed, then after how many interval of time, how much interval of the time you want to retry this activity. So it is 30 seconds is already by default there. You can increase this time to 30 minutes and all those things. Secure output, secure input, these two options are also there. So what we have to do here is, so if you hover, they will tell you that the activity will not captured in login. So basically the details will not get, whatever the details are there, when you move the data from CRM to SQL, the details are getting captured inside the log. So those details will not get captured if you click on this. So leave it as it is, no need to do anything. Keep everything as it is. Then hit on this source thing. Okay, one more thing, you can give the pipeline name as well. Okay, here. So we will give name. Okay, now select this. Now source is there, source data set. So first of all, source is, what is our source system? Source, from our example we can see that source system was our CRM, right? And destination is SQL. So source system is CRM. So in that CRM, we have to connect with the account. So our data set is account table. So what we will do, here I have already created the data set, that's why I can see, but you won't be able to see these things. So what you have to do is basically in the source data set, click on new. Now there are a lot of options are there. Here in the example we are considering integration of CRM with the external system, but there might be, but this is not only one case. There are a lot of things you can do with the ADF. You can use the different databases as well, Azure Cosmos DB, blob storage, MariaDB, file storage, Salesforce, Dynamic CRM, Salesforce, Zoho CRM. So you can migrate the Salesforce data into the Microsoft Dynamic CRM as well. There your source will be a Salesforce and your sync will be a Dynamic CRM. So first, but in our cases, source is basically Dynamic CRM. So select this Dynamic CRM, continue. Now link service, it will ask for link service. So we are directly creating the data set, but we haven't mentioned that we have to connect with this CRM, right? How we can directly connect with the account entity? Directly we cannot connect with account entity. First we have to mention the connection to the CRM, right? So link service is basically a connection string, and so we have to define the connection string for the source. So we have to create the link service for that. I have already created, but again I will tell you how to create. Click on this new, give the name of your link service, description, select this as auto resolve integration runtime, deployment type is online, service URI. So yeah, you copy this, you copy your organization URI, this one, paste it here. Authentication type, there are options are present. Service principal, you can use it, but you to use this, what you have to do is you have to register the app, and then you have to use the client and secret key. Okay, see service principal ID and key, that you have to use to log in. But for this tutorial we will use this Office 365. So Office 365 is basically whatever you are using, whatever the credential you are using to log in this environment, that credential we will use. Make sure that if you are logging with this particular account, then this account should have system administrator role. That means it this user should have access to entire system. Okay, so give the username and password. So my username is, okay, wait, I need to log in to my system. So this is my username, right? And then password. Okay, so here what you have to do, you have to provide that username and password. So this is the username, password. Now test connection. Connection successful, then you can create. Okay, I have already created the link service. So after creating the link service, you will be able to see the option here that whatever you have created the link service, you will be able to see. So select that, then it will take some time to load all the entity present inside this system. This is our CRM organization, customer service hub app. See, all these entities are present: account, contact, social. It will try to load all the entity. Entity is nothing but the table. It is table. So this amount of the entities are present inside the CRM. So now we want only account, right? So search account, select account, and then click OK. So what it is happening, we are creating the data set with the name and link service. That means we are connecting to the CRM, and from that CRM we are getting only account table. So that is our database, and click OK. After that, in the source data set, whatever you have created the data set, select that. So account CRM, mine is account CRM. So you, after selecting this, you will see a lot of option. So you have the option to selecting the table and query. So if you are familiar with the CRM, then you will be able to understand how we can query the data inside the CRM. Here you want to paste the fetch XML. So if you are familiar with this CRM, then only you will be able to understand. For example, from this account in account there are total 97 records are there. So if you want only particular account, then you have to query that into the fetch XML, and that query you have to paste it here. But for this, what we are going to do is we are not going to select any particular account. We are moving all the account. Okay, so no need to worry. In that case, you have to select table only. Okay, once you do this, then you can also preview the data. It will take some time, I guess. See, the data is visible now. All the account, the record present inside this CRM system is visible. You can check it. See, data is there. Okay. So now source connection is done. Now we have to connect to the destination. So again, the same thing you have to do. To create the data set. To create this data set, what we have to do is, we need to connect to the SQL database, SQL server, and after that only we can connect with account. What we have done here, we have connected to the CRM, and after that we have access the account. Similar way, we have to connect it to the SQL, then we have to access the account. So create the data set again. So our source destination is SQL, right? Azure SQL. Type Azure SQL, select it, continue, give the name. Link service you have to create. I have already created. Again I will explain. Description, name you have to give description. This is, select this only. Now from Azure subscription, okay, and free trial, select your subscription. In previous video we have created the server and the database as well, right? So automatically you will be able to see the that server, ADF integration, the database as well you will be able to see. In this server I have two. So ADF trial DB is the one which we are going to use, this one ADF trial DB. So authentication type is SQL authentication. That means whatever you are going to use for to log in this software, that you have to use to log in the database to server, that you have to use. After that, test connection, see connection successful, then create it. This is just link service, that means connection string for our data, our server, SQL server. After that you can select that connect whatever you have created the link service for the SQL, that you can select here. Again it will load all the table present inside this DB. So I have two table, account and contact. So it will load two table, account and contact, but we are going to use account only. So select account and click on OK. Okay, I have already created the dataset. Once you create the dataset, then you will be able to see the dat name here. So your dataset will be this one, account SQL. So based on the dataset, every time what will happen, this different kind of fields will be visible. So you don't need to remember all those fields, what is the meaning of all those fields. When you use different dataset, then you can explore and you can hover on this and you can understand what is the meaning of that particular field. Okay, so so here we have selected the dataset. Now if you want to update the dataset, you can open it, you can update, you can change here, you can preview data. But what is going to happen, since in our account table we don't have a data, so that's why it will not show any data. Okay, after this, write behavior. This is the important thing. Insert, upsert or store procedure. Store procedure we will see this in the next video. Insert and upsert. For example, if you only what you want to do is you want to perform only inserting this record into the SQL, then you have to select the insert. But select upsert. Why? If you want to update, for example, these 5 records are already present inside this SQL table, okay, and you are inserting all the records again. So what you want is, if record is already exist inside the SQL table, then you want to update that record, right? Not create the same record again. So in that case you have to use the upsert. So select upsert. But if you select the upsert, then it should identify on which basis it will identify the record is unique or not. So in our account table, if you see account ID is the column is there, which will be always unique. Okay, so based on that column we can identify if a record exists in this database or not. Okay, see, ADF will identify that. So you have to mention here the column. So here click on new. If you see, all the columns will be visible in the account in SQL. I have account ID, account name, credit hold. So 3 columns are visible here as well. Okay, select account ID, because this will be our unique ID to identify the record is unique or not. Then this, if you hover this, then it is a self-explanatory. To improve the performance you can use this feature, but leave it as it is for now. Then table option is there, leave it as it is, none. We don't want to automatically create. We have already created the table here in the database, so we don't want to create. So select none. This is one important feature is there, but it also has one drawback, pre-copy script. So what it does is, basically when you move the data from CRM to the SQL, okay, so before moving, if you want to perform some operation on this SQL, destination database, then you can write that script here. For example, for whenever I am going to import the data from CRM to the SQL table, then whatever the table is, I want to delete the table first. I mean truncate the data present inside the table, and then I have to move the values inside the table. If this is the scenario, then what you can do here, you can mention the syntax. Okay, so what will happen, before moving the data, it will truncate this account table. It will delete all the existing record present inside the table, and it will import the source record into inside this. But what is the drawback of this? But drawback of this is, suppose if our copy activity get fails, okay, this is running before moving the data. So before moving the data, we have truncated the account, but if our copy activity fails, then we will not be able to achieve, we will not be able to get the previous data, because rollback doesn't work on this pre-copy script. So don't try to avoid using this feature. You can, if you want to truncate, if you want to some perform logic before moving the data, then you can use the store procedure before this, and after that you can run this copy activity. Because even if the copy activity fails in that case, then you can retrieve the data, you can roll back the data, because you have written the logic in the store procedure. That's why. Now write batch timeout feature is also there. So it is also self-explanatory, the wait time for batch insert operation to finish before it times out. Okay, so basically you batch size is there. Basically what you can do is, if you want to insert the record in a bulk, okay, so you can mention, for example, 20 record it will get from source, and it will try to import that 20 record into the destination in a single go. So for that you can mention the batch size. If you give the more batch size, then your performance will be good, because it will take less time to import the data. Actually you have to try and see whether that works for you or not. And the thing is, you cannot give the value greater than 1000, otherwise it will throw error of execute multiple request error it will throw, because, and it will tell that you cannot go beyond the 1000. Okay, and this is related to the batch timeout basically. So for example, if 20 record, they are trying to import the 20 record, but if somehow how much time it will take. For example, if it is taking greater than this time, then it will throw the error basically, timeout error. Then it is also self-explanatory, max concurrent connection. So all these things basically you can search and you can get an idea. Because in this tutorial we are not going to use anything. Mostly you won't be able to change this. You are not going to change this data. So this is also related to the parallel. If you are running the copy activity parallelly, then you can limit that by providing the number here as well. Disable performance metrics analytics. Again, this is the here. If you select this, then what will happen? The performance related data will not be stored inside the log. So better deselect this, because we want to understand the performance as well, right? That's why. So here we have created the destination data set as well. Now what the important thing is mapping, import schema. This is the important thing. Click on that import schema. It will try to load all the the fields where we have here, right? Account entity. So it will try to load all these fields, and if the field name and the CRM field name is same, source field name and destination field name is same, then what it will do, it will automatically map as well. For example, for first field you can see that account ID is here, account ID, and here also I have given the account ID, destination. This is destination, this is source. So automatically it got mapped. Okay, but for these two fields it doesn't, the mapping is not happening, because the name in the CRM is different. For account name, it is a name. Okay, it already picked up, that's why it is not showing. If you scroll down, you will find the EC here, name. Okay, so how you will identify which field we have to map, that is pretty simple, right? I mean in the account entity the field name is account name. Here account name we are using. So in the backend you can find it in the solution. If you are dynamic CRM, if you know the dynamic CRM, then it's pretty good for you. You can go to the solution, you can open this form from the backend and you can read the schema name. Okay, so for this the schema name is name. I already know because I have signed that, that's why. So select the name. For credit hold, again credit hold is this field in the account. Credit hold, okay, this field, this is option set field. So again what we are going to do here, search for credit hold, not here, here. Scroll down, scroll. Okay, this is different field. Credit on hold, see, credit on hold. This is two option field, that's why it is showing boolean, that means yes or no. Here we have taken it as a int. Why we have taken as a hint? Basically here if you see the data is basically yes or no, right? So in the backend it is treated as a number. For yes it will be 1 and for no it will be 0. That's why we have in the SQL table we have taken this credit hold field as a number. Now we have almost done everything. Now in the settings, after mapping is done, what you can do, go to the setting. Here again the options are present. This is also important thing in terms of the performance. So first three fields are very important. I mean keep it as a auto for now. This is integration unit. If you hover, powerfulness of copy executor, that will be decided by this, but most of the time you will select auto. Select auto. This is what going to happen. Degree of parallelism is important. Why it is important? And degree of parallelism, and one more thing, batch size. Somewhere we have mentioned batch size, this one, right? So these two things are very important. What will happen if you play with this, if you increase the batch size and if you increase the parallelism, degree of parallelism number, and try to try to import 5000 record or 2000 record and see the performance, how much time it takes. If you increase the number, then time taken to move the data will be reduced actually. So based on that you can improve your performance. You can increase the batch size, you can give the parallelism as a 2 or 3 4 value, and then you can test it before directly moving the data inside the production. If you hover, specify the degree of parallelism that data loading would use. Okay, so that's what for that only you can use this degree for parallelism. Data consistency verification, that means if you select this, what will happen before moving the data from CRM to the SQL table, it will validate the data. But this will also I mean performance it will not be good because it will take some time to move the data, so better not select this. Fault tolerance is also there. It will, so it is self-explanatory. Escape incompatible row. So if there is a row present inside the CRM which is not satisfying our SQL database, then it will skip that row, skip the row. Okay, like that, skip missing file. All these options are also there. Enable logging feature is there. This is also the best good feature. If you select this, then you have to give the connection name. You can mention the storage account. In that storage account you can store the logging file. It will automatically create the log file and it will store in that storage account. It will store that log file inside the storage account. Okay, for now we don't need this, so we are not selecting. Enable staging is also one of the good feature, but again it will also take performance wise, it will take some time, more time. Why? What is this feature is basically when you are moving the data from CRM to SQL. So for example, if you don't want to directly use the CRM database, then what if you want to move this data to some particular temporary table, and after that you have to move the data from temporary table to the CRM table. Okay, so in that case, rather than creating the table, rather than writing the query in the SQL and doing extra work. What you can do is enable the staging, so it will automatically create in the background. What it will do in the background, it will take it will take first data from CRM, it will move the data to your temp table automatically, and then so first copy activity will happen between these two, and then it will what it will do from temp to destination it will move. So it involves two copy activity. Here we can see only one copy activity, but if you enable this in the backend, it will run as a two copy activity. So definitely the time required to move the data will get increased. And once the data is moved from temp table to destination table, then what is going to happen? Temp table will get deleted. After that, it will delete this temp table. So make sure if you don't want this feature, then don't select, because after moving the data you won't be able to access that temp table. That's why. So we are going to keep it as it is. Whatever the present by default, we are going to keep it as it is. So we have done the connection, source, destination. We have also done mapping as well. Okay. In the user properties is also this good feature. Basically you can create the user property or auto generate. If you click auto generate, basically what it does, source, what is the source is account, and destination is what, dbo.account. If you want to change the value, then you can change it. For example, source is SQL database, right? So SQL account, sorry, source is CRM, so CRM account. Destination is SQL database, so you can give it as a SQL database. So after running this job, you will be able to see, you can easily identify that this copy data is what this copy data is doing. So you can easily identify based on this. So if we see this, we can identify from the source. Okay, the source is CRM account, destination is okay SQL database, so it is moving the account data. So like that you can create user properties as well. So now what we will do, we will publish this copy activity. Okay, publish it. It will take some time. See, publishing completed. Okay, once you publish this, what you can do, okay, you have published this, right? You can you can directly run it from here as well, trigger now, or you can also run it from debug mode as well. First we will run it from debug mode. So what we are going to do, first we will check whether the data is present in our SQL database or not. Okay, so no data is present here, right? Now how much amount of the data is present in our source, that means CRM, how many accounts are present? All account, 97 total records are there. So when we run this pipeline, the 97 records should get appear here. Okay, let's see whether we get or not. So debug, see here you can find it is run, start time, status is queued. Okay, if you refresh this, status is still in progress, still it is in progress, and succeeded, it is showing succeeded. Okay, now if you want to monitor this also, you can monitor this from here as well. Let's close this. There is an option called monitor. If you click on this, you can monitor this. See, August 5 2022. Wait, okay, since we have run this pipeline is in the debug mode, that's why it will not appear here. If you have triggered it, directly triggered it, then it will appear. Okay, so this is our pipeline, right? So let's see whether the data is moved to our SQL database or not. It has succeeded, right? So let's go here, select star, execute. See, the data is here and the rows are also 97, count is also 97. Okay, so account name, we got the account name, credit hold, that means the yes or no is there. I told you yes is treated as a 0 and 1 is treated as a no. And account ID is basically this unique ID of this record. Okay, so we have successfully got this data. Now similarly what you can do, you can get the data from for contact as well. Now what I will do, I will quickly do, you can use this contact table query if you want. We are going to integrate these fields from the CRM to our source. I have already created, and in the contact if you see I don't have any data, so I will quickly create one pipeline for the contact as well, and I will run that as well. Give the pipeline name as a t dash import contact use copy data. You can also use data flow, and inside that data flow you can use copy data. Data flow is basically one everything you can all the related resources you can add into the data flow, and you can simply run that data flow. Select this copy data, give the same name. Let's maximize this. I will quickly generate this. Okay, why it is saying okay. Leave it as it is. Then source, here source will be our CRM. So already we have created a, no, we are not going to, now this time you have to create it again, because see we have created the dataset for account, right? So for for contact you have to create it again. I mean again you have to go to the CRM, continue, here select the link service of CRM, and again here you have to select your entity, contact entity. Previously we have selected account, that's why, and then click OK. Already created contact CRM source table, we have to move. Okay, that's it. In the sync I need contact SQL. Again you have to create new data set for contact Azure SQL DB. From continue, select the link service that you have created previously for SQL, and then here it will automatically load the table, so your table will be a contact, and click OK. So I have already created, I will select contact SQL, we need upsert. Again no, then we don't need this. Okay, in the upsert you need to mention the key column, you have to mention. So contact ID is our key column. Based on the contact ID it will identify whether the record already exists or not. Okay, mapping, import schemas. So if you see here contact, okay, how many contact records are there, we will see later. So mapping, here we need to check, right? Okay, so contact ID in the name was similar, that's why it automatically got mapped. Now name, mobile number, first name, last name, account ID, account name. We are not going to use this account name. Okay, I will explain you why later. Why? So if I open this contact record, then you will be able to understand. Basically in the contact record there is a one field called account name. So this contact record is linked to this account, basically this account table. So if you click on this, see account table is there. So that's the behavior. So if you want to move the data of this field into our destination, then you will get ID of this record, not the name. So to get the account name, you have to write some external stored procedure that we will see in the next video. So for now we will just get the ID, and that ID we will store inside another field, for example account ID that we have already created in the here. So for such kind of field, for lookup fields we have to create two fields, basically account ID, account name. So ID will be stored here, name will be, we will store it based on our stored procedure. So now we don't need this account name, okay, for mapping. So what I will do, I will delete this. Account ID required first name, last name, then two fields are not mapped. Name. So name is nothing but full name. Name is this. The schema name is full name, okay? That's why. Mobile number, we will map it to one of the field, maybe telephone one. Okay, so all the fields are mapped. Now after this is good. User property, if you want to auto generate it, so that we will be able to understand based on this what is happening inside this. Okay, so publish all. It will take some time. After publishing, we will trigger it now. Okay, trigger now. This time we will not debug, directly trigger. We don't have any data. Okay, in contact table we don't have any data. Now we should get the data. Okay, now you have triggered. If you want to see whether that is in the debug mode, you could we can see that here, right? So previously when we run the pipeline in debug mode, then we will be able, we have seen the box here, and in that we have seen the status as well. But if you trigger, sometimes it will show here, but still if you want to see what is happening, then what you can do is close this, go to the monitor section, and this monitor section, see, this is our job and this has been completed and its status is succeeded, and okay, status is succeeded. Even you can get the run ID here. If you open this, so from source and source you can see our user property, source and destination. So from here you can easily identify what is happening inside this copy activity. One more thing, you can see the details as well. So how much data row was there in this dynamic CRM for contact 218. So 218, it picked 218 record, and it has written all the records, 218 records. Copy duration was 11 seconds. All the data will be stored here. DIUs, they have it is used is 4. This is important thing that I will explain later in upcoming videos. This is important in terms of the performance and pricing. So all the things you can get here, even activity run ID is here. Okay, and then what we will do, we will check how much record was there in the contact entity first. All contact 218 record was there, right? So in SQL table now we should get, not truncate, this one. Okay, so 218 record we got, right? Correct. So everything is working perfectly. So now one more thing here is, wait, one thing is not populated correctly, I guess. The thing is account ID. Account ID we didn't get, we are getting null, right? Why we are getting null? Let's see. Open this pipeline, copy data. Why it is okay, we are in monitor stage, that's why. So this one, mapping. So we are getting account ID here. Okay, yeah, this is the lookup field, that's why I understood. Okay, no, mapping is wrong, that's why. Where we have to map, basically this account ID should map to parent customer ID. Why? because if you preview source, we will get what I am telling. See, in this account ID is field is there, right? For this field all the data is null, so this is not our field. Okay, so this is not our field. Our field is basically a parent customer ID. In the backend you can see this, I mean in the backend side you can see the schema name of this account name field, and you have to use that schema name. So the schema name is parent customer. See, parent customer ID. Now what I will do, I will publish this job again, this pipeline again, and then trigger now. Now it should update the data now. See, we have got the data. It on record count is 218 only. I mean it updated the data. It didn't created the, I mean it doesn't created that all the records again. It updated this account ID field. Okay, so but we want account name as well, right? We have we don't want this ID, we want account name. For example, for this contact we have this account name, right? We want this account name, not the ID. So how you will get this? So now you can get this from here. If you see this one, we got this account record as well, right? Here account ID is there. So from this account ID you can get the account name. So you have to inner join this contact table with account table to get that name. Okay, for example, I will explain you with the script if you want. If we want this account name, then what we will do basically, we will write query update contact. Okay, and we will set account name field inside the contact to with account tables account ID account name field from contact, and then we will inner join on account. On this ID is there, right? Account ID. Contact table account ID equal account table account ID. Okay, so basically we are updating this contact table, we are setting this account name to this account table account name. Okay, that means account table account name, and then from contact, then we are joining this contact table to this account table, and we are getting this account name, and we are setting this account name based on the ID. So if ID is this, then that particular ID's name will be populated here. So if I run this script, then it will update the data. See, we are able to see the name as well now. So do we need to do this manually every time after getting the data here? No, we don't need to do this manually. We can write the store procedure, and we can in the SQL, and we can call the store procedure just after this. Okay, so that the data we will get is proper thing. So how we can do this is we will do this in the next video. This is one scenario we will handle using store procedure in the next video, and one more scenario if we want we will handle, which is of contact entity. So sorry, if account entity, in account entity we are seeing 0 1, right? But we want this as a yes or no, because in the CRM side it is present as yes or no. If you see in account, yes or no, so we want yes or no and not 0 1. So we will create one option set detail table, and we will inner join in similar way, and we will get the credit we will create one more field credit hold name, and in that credit hold name we will store the values for 0 as a no and 1 as a yes. And we will run we will create store procedure for the contact as well, and we will run the store procedure just uh, after this copy activity. So that's it for today. We will see in the next video we will see the store, how we will add the store procedure and run the store procedure, and little bit complex scenarios as well.